everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Benfica after 90, and we suffer our first loss of the season. And just to kick off the show, obviously I got Joe on here, but Boris, with the amazing comment to get it going. Uh, that's one good way to put it. It's I gotta laugh at this point, but let's really just start. How you doing, Joe? You doing okay, buddy?
Well, Portugal campeões do mundo in futsal, so we're happy about that for sure. Unfortunately, wasn't able to watch the game, with like that much attention, obviously, because I was focused on Benfica being cursed today at the face of the goal. But aside from so it's kind of bittersweet. But yeah, could be worse. Portugal getting the win there really did help. So really happy about that.
Yeah, it helps buffer it away. And it's right before we went live, Joe pointed out to me that Bayern Munich and Barcelona had lost. I knew Barca had lost. I didn't know Bayern Munich had lost this weekend. And then we're talking, and United lost this weekend. PSG lost earlier today, 2-0. Madrid lost.
It was like obviously for Benfica, this would have been 14 straight games without a loss, like competitive games without a loss. So we had that 13-game streak, not losing. If you really want to take it back to the league, I'm not sure how many games it is, but our last loss was against Gil Vicente way back in, April or whenever that was. Real Madrid, I think it was a 24-game La Liga unbeaten streak that they lost today. And then Bayern Munich was like 31 games. So today was a day where just like, hey,
every streak got broke.
Everyone's throwing out their streaks out the window.
Times they're fresh.
Yeah.
And it's tough, man. It's tough. You know what? Let me get the starting 11 out. Let's quickly do that. I'll play this out for everyone here.
Do you want to talk us through it while you're playing it?
Yeah, I could do that. All right. Today in the back we had Odysseus, Vertonghen, Otamendi, Verissimo, Grimaldo, João Mario, Weigl, Rafa, Gilberto, Darwin, and Chuck up front. So that was Benfica's starting 11 for this match today. And we'll get into it shortly.
Yeah, it was tough. What did you think of to kind of get started off, Mario? What did you think of the starting lineup when you saw it come out?
When I looked at the starting 11 here, let me quickly share it on the screen also for everyone to see it here. Perfect. There we go. So yeah, here's the starting 11 on the screen. What I initially thought was, I thought maybe we'd see a little bit of rotation right before the game kicked off or before they announced the 11, and we didn't really see too much of it. My worry was a little bit of tired legs. We had a tough game against Barca, but at the same time, we had this discussion last show, is Jorge Jesus going to go with what's been working, or is he going to stick with what's not been working? And he kind of stuck it out. It's kind of funny how the goal point lays out that formation. I kind of always feel like Darwin's a little bit more on the wing and Raf's more on the wing.
Oh yeah, I mean,
three up front. It's a weird setup how they show it on here, but it's I'm not overly surprised that he went with what works. The Gil Diaz substitution was an interesting one, and it was interesting to see him today. There's moments where did not like anything about what I was seeing, and then other moments where he's having several. He had at least 2 or 3 times some beautiful breakaways that he kind of broke from the middle of the park, ran the play up, created good opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, that was just an absolutely unreal match. Like for me, just like looking at the starting lineup, I was super happy, obviously, to see JJ going with a real lineup. He didn't, throw in Andre Almeida or anyone like that. Obviously, we had Gilberto because Valentin Lazaro is still hurting a little bit. I mean, HJ, all I'm going to say is Brighton. Arsenal were lucky to get a point from Brighton. Brighton are having a hell of a season. But this game, we can't even say that Benfica, they technically lost. But yeah, like Brian really said it best. No one was to blame here. I mean, this was just a game where you could play this game 100 times out of 100 with all those chances Benfica had. Benfica are going to win 99 times. Today's the one time they're never going to win. Like that's just how the cookie crumbles. But when I looked at the lineup, I was happy to see everyone. Loved that trio up front of Darwin, Rafa, and Chuck. Like you said, obviously they're not playing like 2 with 1 in the back. It's Darwin a little bit more on the wing and Rafa kind of playing behind them a little bit. But I mean, there was nothing I could complain about in the 3 games that JJ has started with that attacking front three. We've scored 9 goals. At least one person of those front 3 have been involved in 8 of those goals. Like, you can't complain about their production at all. And even today, look at all the chances they had. I mean, we'll get into the breakdown of the match, but
I'm just gonna quickly cut in here just
yeah.
to answer this question. What Melo's trying to right now, and he sent it to me and Joe. He needs to relax, so he's going by the water and he's fishing.
With his
Fishing. Took his fishing rod. Took his daughter. It would have been funnier if we didn't mention daughter. Like he just went by himself.
Yeah, go
sitting by a dock, just to let off some steam, catching fish. And we kind of thought about it, right? So, Schadenfreude, there's the word, man. I love that word. It's terrible. But yeah, no, it's so tough. It's so tough on this one here because I'm gonna just bring up the stats again. When you're looking at, oh my goodness, here I got to rotate through this. When you're looking at 24 shots against 5, you're looking at 68% ball possession. My God, their goalkeeper just in the first half alone, several saves. Second half, there's a shot from Otamendi, beat everyone, defender on the line. Like the frustration was unreal. It's a case where you get irritated. But I will say, I got enclosure here. You made a comment about the midfield being dead in the end of the first half. I would say more so like first half was frustrating, but it felt like we were going to score at any moment sooner or later. The second half, this is when the Barcelona match kind of came to play, where I felt later in the second half, there you could see the tired legs. You could see the players feeling it.
Yeah, I can kind of just go through a little bit of what the first half was like. There were so many chances, obviously. I kind of have the summary of the game, like me and Mello like to do our little notes. But in the 22nd minute, that was really what the first big moment that Samuel Portugal had. Also, just today was Portugal's day. Whether it was the futsal team, whether it was the Portimonense keeper, like just great day for Portugal. Let's put it that way. But he had a crazy save on Yaremchuk. Cross from Grimaldo comes in. Chuck has his shot saved. I mean, it was a goal guaranteed. It was a great save from Samuel. And then in the 29th minute, Darwin had a header from Yaremchuk that was saved as well in the 29th. We saw that happen. And then that free kick, man, in the 37th minute from Grimaldo. Grimaldo has a beautiful free kick right in the top. If you're looking at the goal, the top left corner. And Samuel gets his hands to it, puts it away. For me, those were like the 3 clear goals in the first half that he saved. Like those 3 saves, any normal keeper is not saving those. Like if there are cases where, okay, keeper made a good save or a great save. No, those were goal saving chances. And if you look at the big chances missed, those are the 3 that were referred to there in SofaScore on the screen. But we had those chances, and then actually in stoppage time, or right before stoppage time, Grimaldo kind of had this awkward header that Samuel saved on the line. So it's kind of a play that didn't seem like it would turn into anything. Grimaldo has that chance saved, and then 2 minutes later, Rafa and Chuck really combined for some beautiful play, and his shot was saved inside the 18. Well, it was blocked by a Portimonense keeper, but those were some of the great plays. I'm not going to get into the play of the match, which I kind of am yet to discuss there. But yeah, that was the first half for Benfica. I mean, so many chances. Chuck, Darwin, Rafa, Grimaldo all looked great. They were all creating chances. When I say great in terms of being dangerous, could they have been more clinical, especially Chuck and I would say Darwin, but mainly Chuck in the first half? Yeah. But I mean, Grimaldo was just on fire. Mario, I'd like to kind of get your thoughts on the first half there.
Man, yeah, I know. Grimaldo was having a great game, getting in there. The free kick from Grimaldo, the save, that was in the first half, I'm pretty sure. Unless it was in the second half. Now I'm starting to blur my game. First half. Just, again, it's one of these things where Chuck's goal, any other match that's going in, a shot like a rocket like Grimaldo had, high chance that could have gone in if it wasn't for the keeper being as quick as he was. It was just kind of frustrating watching it. But in the first half, I'll just say my main feeling coming out of that game was we're going to get it. It's only a matter of time before we score a goal. It was a certain level of confidence. Here, I'll let you run the comments because I started to get distracted for a second. But yeah, that was kind of the situation in my mind. I felt the referee was a little harsh on the yellow with Darwin when that did happen. I think that was in the first half when that did happen. There it is. But again, overall, it's the thing that the reason why I titled the show Anti-Jogo that was very frustrating throughout the first half, and you saw it later into the second half, was just the amount of willingness to kill time, lie on the ground, just run the clock. They wanted a draw. They got 3 points, which is more than what they came for. And if I segue quickly into the second half, you kind of see the possession here, the statistics, and I'll make it a little larger for everyone, but it goes from 61 to 77% possession. Like, we just had them pinned in. We went from 12 shots to another 12 shots, but where we dropped off big time, and one thing Portimonense did extremely well in the first half, again, I was feeling way optimistic with the amount of shots we're getting at target. Goalkeeper's having the time of his life, but if you keep taking shots at that level, it's just a matter of time. That ended in the second half. Like, there really wasn't, outside of the Otamendi's on the line save. It didn't feel like we had too many. There's Verissimo when he jumped down on his knees to kind of get the header. It was wide. We had a lot of wide shots off the crossbar also at one point, but it just felt like the second half they really, really packed it in tight, especially after they got their goal, right?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of chances, first off, the second half starts off. We still see Gil Diaz come on for Gilbert. Looked like he was there was a little muscle injury or something going on there for Gilbert. So
Yeah.
At first, I was like, okay, Gilbert has been great. First half, he wasn't too hot, to be honest. I wasn't a huge fan of what Gilbert was doing in the first half. Yeah, I mean, right there, he only played the first half, and that's like what his rating was. But even then, I think he was the weakest by far on the pitch in the first half. Verissimo did well. Otamendi was great in the first half. Same with Vertonghen, and they were really setting the tone. And then for me, yeah, Gil Diaz, you're pulling up his rating here. And he had a couple of runs that were just like, I was like, okay, like in the 54th minute, he had one. And then in the 70th, he had another. And the second one actually ended in a pass to Darwin, which a Portimonense keeper just touched it away. But I mean, I was really happy with how he was playing in terms of just like when he got the ball, he was like doing all this dribbling. I'm like, this guy's going to lose it. And I was pretty impressed with him. Again, that's also relative to his past performances. I saw Enclosure say that he wasn't even good enough for Benfica B. I think that's just not true. I think if you're going to base it off of one game, even today's not the game to pick because he was pretty good today. But in the first half, Gil Diaz comes on, he was great. I really loved what we were doing with the corners, though, Mario.
Look at that heat map for João Mario. His one red is the corner. That's the amount of corners he took that it actually made a red heat map.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
It's pretty wild, actually. I've never seen that before, where a guy has more red in the opposition corner.
Yeah, and even then, one of the things that was really cool was obviously with Benfica, corners have been something offensively and defensively we've been frustrated with over the last couple of seasons. Let's put it that way to be nice. Yep. But of course, we'll get to the goal in a second. How Portimonense scored was from a corner, but I loved this play between João Mario finding Rafa Silva, not for these little passes, outside of the 18, but he'd find them inside the 18. They'd combine with someone else on the left side of the field. João Mario passed it to Rafa, who held it a little bit and found Grimaldo to put one in. And then on the right side of the pitch, when we had a corner, he did the same thing with Gil Diaz. And I loved that play. That's obviously something they've been working on in practice, but I'm kind of curious to hear what you thought about those new corners, Mario.
Yeah, no, it seems like there was a lot of. It didn't seem as random. It seemed like there was a lot of thought behind it. I know even the one near the end, Tarat, they're picking out players better than they were last season. Last year, when we saw corners, it seemed like throw the ball in the box and hope for the best, or do a short little pass, but with no intention of doing anything, like to get the pass and not know what to do with it. Every time today, it seemed like the ball in most cases was placed on someone. They were marked quite well. The ball didn't bounce the right way. It's a very frustrating game where I really think, again, a couple of those goals go in and we'd be celebrating a big win. Like you look at if we gotten like 3 of those goals in, and you look at possession, you look at the shots, it'd be a dominating victory. It's just the fact that keeper had such an amazing game. The fact that they really, really defended so damn well. And the struggle, and I'd say the frustration, I think, on the Barca, because they're coming out the high of the Barca in general. Um, Not just on Joel Mario, but I think less so on Joel Mario. I felt like some of the younger guys like Darwin was maybe trying to a little bit extra. You see all these big headlines after the Barcelona game, and it felt like maybe a couple times he could have maybe passed when he didn't pass. But at the same time, that was a complaint we had about him before, the fact that we wanted him to make the run, take the shot, and he was trying. Like they all were trying, and it's just a very it's one of these things where I don't feel the team would be fair for them to get crucified. They got a standing ovation from the fans after the game because these guys hustled. They hustled. They tried everything. I would say one thing, like it's a little irritants. Like the one thing, us conceding the goal, I'm gonna partly blame Odie, partly blame Verismu to an extent.
Yeah.
It pretty much led to, first of all, Odie doing what he does terribly, which is instead of catching an easy corner or an easy ball that kind of came in, he went in and he basically patted it and went to the corner, and then they got a corner shot or a throw in. I can't remember exactly how it went. And then Verissimo wasn't doing a good job of getting possession back. And they pretty much had a good run, which it felt almost like 5 minutes or close to it, where they were in that back end. That back end there, they kept getting throw in after throw in. They got at least 2 or 3 corners in that time period, and that's what led to the goal. It was just we weren't clearing the ball. We were basically having the situation where defenders and our goalkeeper was pushing the ball in dangerous positions and keeping the ball and not clearing it properly. And I think that's one of the reasons why we conceded today. That's, I think, the big reason why.
On the goal that ended up being the corner, of course, that came in the 66th minute. Lucas, one of their center backs, ends up getting ahead to it, but it goes also right through Odie's legs. Like, I understand the defenders there should have done more. I mean, the defenders we have, I mean, always really, in my opinion, even with Fer and Ruben Dias and everything, we should be winning all those. If a center back is marking the guy that scores or the guy that gets an attempt on net, that shouldn't be a goal. It should be either blocked or it should be a kind of a stretched header that doesn't do anything. But it should never be a good chance. And this guy had all the time in the world on that goal.
Yeah.
In terms of the space, but to me, that was really the only time of the game where you looked and said Portimonense are kind of, creating some chances. In the first half, we had some back and forth, but there wasn't any real danger, in the first half from them. There was one shot that Odie had, a solid.
Yeah, there was one where we had a really good save, but that was about it. Like that was like their one main opportunity.
Exactly, and even then, the shot was, from outside the 18. It wasn't like one of these chances where it was inside the area. One of the defenders should have been guarding better, like defending better. It was just bad luck. But in terms of just like the second half from the Benfica standpoint, we got to go to the 50th minute, Mario, which for something that some people in closure here saying in the chat he thought was a goal. In the 50th minute, Chuck gets the ball from Rafa. He ended up being in an offside position. But Chuck's shot, absolute rocket, like all of his shots, ends up hitting the post, hitting Samuel in the back for an own goal. But VAR ends up canceling the goal. And in my opinion, it was 100% the right call. I saw Chuck was even, from the image that they show on the TV, I don't even think that was the right image because Chuck actually kind of takes a step back. So, he comes back from being even more offside to just being offside a little. And if we're gonna be honest, it's 100% an offside goal. That wasn't a good goal.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I agree with you, man. It's one of those things where I just wish it was, but that's pretty much all it is. I wish it was, but it wasn't. And it's a case where they caught it correctly. It could have. It's a tight call. It is always, I think, the complaint that Benfica have that are fair is that they don't hesitate any moment to question any goal we score. They do truly analyze our goals, and if it's not a legit goal, it's not a legit goal. And I do think some of our rivals get a little bit of an easier time on some of these calls that they've gotten. But that's just a complaint that I think in general we have about the Liga. I was trying to see if I could dig up the offside, but I'm having a hard time finding it here. So forget it. I'll
31 centimeters is what they said that the final offside was. But yeah, I mean, we can't really. Benfica fans this season, if you're going to complain about referees, in terms of us over the course of the season having more bad calls against us than good calls, you're crazy. I mean, against Santa Clara, the 5-0 game, we won 5-0, but Odie could have been sent off. I didn't see it as a penalty, but it was 50-50 when he came out the box there and got a yellow. That could have been a red card. Diogo Gonçalves just a high kick a couple minutes later when it was still 0-0. So, that's a penalty right there that was missed. We look at the Otamendi game against Boavista before the second goal when it was tied 1-1. He has that foul that I thought was 100% a penalty, clears the guy out and then gets the ball. And this was really, that I can think of so far, probably the closest to something happening for us. That wasn't, I don't know, maybe the Luka goal against the Roca, but aside from that, was the only time where you can be like, hey, the refs were against us. No, even today, like this was just the right call. And I hate, one of the things that I really hate in the Premier Liga is just this whole collusion and everything. People seeing red for Benfica games, people seeing, blue for Port games. Port's a whole different story last year, but this year so far, it just, man, I really want foreign refs, but obviously that's just not so much for the right calls to be made, but just for the complaining to stop.
Just to get rid of the excuses. It gets very annoying. And I think today was a frustrating game in the sense that they were time wasting. He did card them for time wasting. He did give them several warnings. So I think the ref could have been a little harsher on that side. But these teams, it's anti-Jogo. It's frustrating to watch. It's not nice, but at the same time, I get the gap. I get the difference. I would rather a team that comes out and plays us, but they did their bit. They did their strategy, and it worked out well for them. So it is frustrating. I did want to ask your take on the substitutions. So later in the second half, we got Almeida highlighted here. Almeida, Taarabt. We got Ramsh, Everton. I saw him. I don't know. I thought Grimaldo was having a decent game. It wasn't the greatest game. I think it was more just fatigue why he did it. But I just kind of, at that point, we're losing. I don't know. I think the Taarabt, bringing on Taarabt, there's a couple of moments he did well. I just think I would have gone a little differently. I personally, I like the Everton, but Everton in the 89th minute, like what's there left to do? Plus, the thing that frustrated me is you had both Everton and Ramsh pretty much ready, warming up. And the decision was made. I don't know why this decision was made to let's bring out Ramsh, wait, and then put Everton as soon as there's another stoppage of play to we're basically killing the flow of our own game. Like we're complaining about Anti-Jogo, and I think it's a fair, legitimate complaint in the fact that they wasted a ton of time throughout this match and they're trying to stop the plays, try and break up the plays. But then we go and do it to ourselves. They could have brought Everton and Ramsh at the same time. Like it's so minutia that it probably wouldn't have made much of a difference at all.
No, but I do agree with you there, especially with like the change for Gonçalo and Everton. Why wasn't that made at the same time?
It's silly little things. See, when you're frustrated and you're not getting the result, it's those little things that'll irk you a little bit more than normal, right?
Yeah, and overall, again, I mean, I think I'm seeing a lot of stuff in the chat about just the fact that we lost. Talking a little bit about too, just like the Barcelona game, like, oh, this was a game where Benfica didn't come ready because they were still all excited from the Barca win. I think watching them, this wasn't a game where Portimonense was quicker to every ball. This wasn't a game where Benfica had 0 shots in the first half and they weren't creating chances. This wasn't a game where just in general Benfica weren't playing well, and from the start of the game you knew, oh great, this team didn't show up to win today. They did all of those things. Like, look, one of the things you can say off the bat is the team was tired. That is 100% true. This is the 4th straight game now that we've seen JJ start that front trio of Rafa, Darwin, and Chuck. So in terms of, switching it up there, you could say that they were tired. But in the first half, let's not get it twisted, everybody. Talking in the chat, talking to you, Mario, just Benfiquistas everywhere. That first half, Benfica in a normal game is up 3-0.
Yeah, they did all the right things. They did all the right things. Yeah.
Well, if the goalie, if the Portimonense keeper doesn't stand on his head like he did today, that is the best game he's played his whole career. That's probably in one of the best games I've ever seen in a Liga or Primeira Liga game. Period. Don't remember the last time, if ever, I've seen a goalie with an 8.6 rating. And one of the things there is like you see the first change really coming in the 73rd minute, and to me it was like, I wasn't mad at you. I wasn't screaming at the bench for JJ to make changes. I was screaming at the ball to get in the damn net. You know what I mean? It wasn't JJ's fault. It wasn't the player's fault. Sometimes you just don't have the luck. And that's what it comes down to.
I think that Otamendi, the talk about luck, it's that clearance on the line, that kind of stuff that you're seeing. It's just the ball didn't want to go in.
Yeah,
It's
even when he was beat, and then you have the goal where he was offsides by a foot more or less, kind of came back from an offside position. But then you had Otamendi with a rocket that hits off the post. You have Samuel was beat off a corner, and Otamendi goes to hit it like you said, Mario, and it's cleared off the line. You even had the Darwin. There was one play where Gil Dias had a beautiful crossover to Darwin where he just missed the ball. To me, this whole game, there was one chance that was missed, and it was really that Darwin shot. You can maybe talk about the first Chuck shot in the first half where Samuel made his first great save, the 22nd minute. But there was one cross where, Darwin was coming across the face of goal. He kind of misses the ball. And Rafa, I think, or someone ends up picking it up and trying to create another play. But this team, it wasn't a lack of chances. This was the most shots we've had all season. So to say that Benfica, didn't come to win today, or they didn't come prepared, or all that stuff. Look, Portimonense came to win, but so did Benfica. The Anti-Jogo and stuff like that obviously was annoying and hurt. But to kind of get back to the subs, Mario, before giving it back over to you. When I saw in the 73rd minute, I saw those changes made. I wasn't a great fan, like a big fan of the Andre Almeida sub, but I do also know that Grimaldo's played practically every minute of every match. He hasn't gotten much rest there at all. Looking, at just the breakdown of who's played the most minutes before this match, the only two field players that have played more than Grimaldo were Otamendi and Verissimo. So that just goes to show right there. Those are your three highest minutes played from anyone, and kind of going, even deeper than that. You didn't really look at the front three, at least I didn't, and say these guys just don't have it today. You could say that, hey, Chuck or Darwin probably should be taken out a little earlier to see, just their tired legs. Like Chuck, especially to me, looked like he was tired, and I wanted to see Gonçalo Ramos brought on for him. But yeah, I'd love to kind of hear what you thought of the subs. And I hated the Tarat sub too. Weigl was great.
I think and I'm without echoing everything you just said, I think overall the team did the right things. Ball didn't go in. This has been the lineup that's been working. We kind of talked about the fact that George Jewish is a creature of habit last show, and will he come this week about the same lineup? And we got our answer there, right? I think identifying around that time when Almeida came on, like we were losing 1-0. At this point, it doesn't matter how many goals you lose by. Just if you can get the win, it's worth it. You get the draw, it's worth the point. It isn't like this, like a two-legged affair or anything of the sort. And the fact that Portimonense was barely threatening in many cases. They're breaking away. Like we're pretty much in their entire half. So every time they'd break away. So I looked at Almeida, and the only logical reason I thought was, he is a good player getting those crosses in. That's been like one of his strong attributes. Defensively, he's weak. I feel we didn't really need that defensive firepower. We needed better crosses in. I think I would have gone a little bit differently, though. I think the Everton bringing him on was a good idea. Not at the 89th, though. Like, you can't make much of an impact. Bring him on, and right when he did the Almeida and Tarat, that's when Rams should have come on. That's when Everton should have come on. Give them a good 20 minutes of like hustling, running. These guys are gassing out against Portimonense. They're on tired legs. They were getting beat down. I think we could have just kept the higher octane pressure going. We had a lot of pressure on them, but isn't that we took the foot off the gas? But I think both Everton and Rams want to prove something. And if you gave them a little bit more time, I do agree with those subs, those players coming out. I agree with taking Chuck out. I agree with taking Verissimo out, because at that point, the odds of conceding a goal were low. And even if you did, who cares? You're losing the game anyways. You wanted to get at least a draw in the win, right? Tarat was, again, some good plays here and there, and I kind of understand why he took out Weigl. You want more of an offensive attacking mid, but it's a day where I kind of look at the bench, and we're going through kind of the options that we got here, right? Mm-hmm. I would have almost, you could have taken out Weigl and brought on Everton, right? And not that Everton's going to play in the mid, but it's the fact that you have Rafa, you still had Rafa on, you'd have Everton on. You kind of lose that fullback support, but it isn't that we really needed him in the back anyways. We just wanted that extra pace, that extra pressure. Like, I just don't. So I think that's the mistake I would say that George Reus probably made on the game, was on the substitutions.
And even then, but like you just said real quick, looking at the bench there, In terms of the substitutions that he put in, that's one thing. But who he took out, Grimaldo. Like, let's look at it. Okay, from the beginning, obviously, Gilbert needs to be taken out because he's right.
Yeah.
Grimaldo's taken out. He was gassed. Like I said, third most.
He was done. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
He needed a break. Like you can't just be running this guy dead. Weigl, I thought he had a good game. He's been playing more offensively lately. That being said, I do understand needing to go to the win, needing to risk more passes, which Weigl isn't going to do. What he is going to do is he's probably going to help you prevent some of those breakaways, portemonnants that inevitably happen when you go all forward. He'll kind of stop some of those at midfield instead of stopping them in like the attacking third or our defensive third rather. So that's kind of one of the advantages that I see of keeping on Weigl in that situation. But I don't blame him for taking out Weigl. Also Weigl's played
yeah, see, I almost like I look at these final two subs. Bring on Everton and Gonzalo Ramos would be great. It would have been great if he did it here instead of Almeida. Brought on, took out Grimaldo, brought on Everton. Like I said, instead of taking out Weigl, take out Verissimo. Do this. That way, keep Weigl on. Weigl can stop back and defend if need be, but at least you have that attacking defensive mid.
Even then, Mario, I would almost, because like if you look at just the chances today's game, for example, one of the chances that like was one of our better chances was that João Mario crossed to Verissimo where he was kind of alone and
he did they got on his knees. It just went wide.
That happens. That happened in the 80th minute. So like you don't know if but at the end of the day, like obviously this is all taking into account that Samuel was on his head today. So
he's a monster.
I mean that's amazing, crazy game. But what could JJ maybe have done better? I'm not too upset with him taking off the players that late. And Cynthia, of course, is right saying everything she had to say there. But the thing really comes down to, for me, I would have liked to see Everton and Gonçalo given more time. Gonçalo hasn't done anything really all season. He has one assist all season on one of Grimaldo's goals. But to me, he's done very little. He had a absolutely on fire preseason. He was great, but it's something for me that, he probably deserves a second chance right about now. He'll definitely get it against Trofense, guaranteed. He'll probably get the start there, as well as maybe Seth coming back from injury. He might get the start there before the Bayern game. But yeah, in Nemanja, Raining Entertainment just brought up that Nemanja hasn't really gotten time yet. He played a couple games, a couple minutes here and there, but I would like to see him on today too. But again, it was just the fact that I think taking out with Chuck was the right move. Taking out Weigl was also the right move. But like sometimes you want to make those offensive changes like a little bit sooner, just so they can get in the swing of things, like you said. Especially Gonçalo. I don't want another Jota situation where the fan base too gets on him, the media gets on him because he hasn't done anything. Well, it's because the guy's played like the last 5 minutes of the last 10 games. So like you can't judge a guy based off of 5 minutes when last season or 2 seasons ago, you had Seth and other guys getting a full starts or PZ and still underperforming. Like being a super sub isn't something easy. It's much more difficult, I think, in a lot of situations than getting the start straight away. But at the end of the day, JJ, I thought he should have made a change probably in the front a little sooner. Taking out Chuck ideally would have been my change. Probably take out Chuck and put on Everton, and then switch Darwin over to the middle more, or even taking out Gonçalo, taking out Chuck and putting in Gonçalo, just a straight swap. But yeah, I'm gonna run 1 second, Mario, to grab a charger.
Yeah, go.
I forgot to bring a charger because I was so pissed.
Yeah, grab it, and I'll bring up quickly the next series of matches coming up for everyone to see. And yeah, we got the international break now coming up. I do, to answer Miguel's question, think it is actually perfect timing. These guys needed some rest. Now, granted, most of these guys are going to go out and play international matches. So let me just make this a little bigger so people can see. But in short, it's perfect timing for it. I think the Taça Portugal matchup is also perfect because we don't need our main guys there. So for some reason, guys get tired legs right now, and then they have tired legs going into the international break. And then at the same time, they need a bit of a breather. We don't really have to start all of them for Trofense. Like this is a game where we can go and get Morata on. We can give Ferro some minutes. We give Ramsh a good start, give him a healthy start in a sense, and kind of take a look at some of the guys I haven't seen as much. Like Mete could play. Now, you don't want to make a wholesale change, but you could technically bringing in Nemanja, if I pronounce it correctly or not. Tarat, you can start him. You can Helton late. You can basically rotate most of the 11, and you'd still expect that 11 to be Trofins, right? Now, you don't want to go too crazy. You don't want to gamble it too much because you screw up here. You had a Taça Portugal. It's not a fun situation to be in. At the same time, we should be able to get the result. Now, I haven't looked up Trofins' kind of record right now. I could try to find it.
I mean, yeah, I don't think it's worth it with them playing.
Yeah, like right. Look, they're kind of straight. They lost to the B team. Like our B team beat them 2-1. So
no, even one of the things I was going to say, Mario, when you were just talking about the schedule, like you could really come in with a whole new squad. To me, the issue isn't so much beating Trofans. Obviously, that's a guarantee. You need that to happen. But it's also you have a Champions League game 3 days later against Bayern Munich.
Yeah, right here.
That's the game at home. So if you're going to plan on taking points from Bayern, this is the game. This is the game. Because here's the thing. In my opinion, for a club to obviously this season's been crazy. Benfica taking all 3 points from Barca. Sharif, can't even say enough about them. But typically in the Champions League for a club like Bayern Munich, if you're going to take points from them, it's that last game of the group where they have 14, 15 points. They're already through, and they have a big game coming up in their league that weekend. Where that's how Benfica did it in 2013 against or 2012 against Barcelona when we tied at the Camp Nou. I love JJ and everything, but Barcelona had nothing to play for that match.
They were already through.
Yeah,
they had it.
Exactly. It was the last game of the group. We drew 0-0. Great, we got a result. I was still obviously ecstatic to kind of go with your head high, more or less. But yeah, it's like that's really your only chance. This season, you're playing Bayern games 3 and 4. Bayern wants to win both of those games.
Yeah. I do hope there's a situation. I haven't looked at Bayern's schedule, and I can quickly take a peek right now. In terms of who they face, Leverkusen. Okay, that's not a. That's
Leverkusen is a big
tied
game.
First.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got to beat Leverkusen. If they don't, right now, I think they're tied for first in the Bundesliga. Like if I go to the table, no, it's Champions League. I don't want Champions League. So I thought like click here, click Almeinsch.
I can tell you that they're tied. The two of them are tied. And
here they are.
Dortmund's right behind.
Yeah, so there's Leverkusen. So it's a I don't want to say a must-win game, but it's a case that Bayern just lost this weekend. You're gonna have international break. They're gonna come back to a very tough match. I would hope it's an away match that they put a strong fight and it really gathers them out, and then not to have them thinking they'll look past. I agree with you. Being right in the middle of the group stage matches, that's kind of still very critical times to get points. But Barcelona losing to Bayern Munich, Barcelona losing to us, sitting on 0 points. Bayern Munich could technically go, okay, listen, I know we got Benfica away. It looks like Benfica is playing well. You saw what they did against Barcelona, but you know what? Let's get these key points in the Bundesliga. And if we happen to draw Benfica away, we're still going to be first in this group. If we somehow lose to Benfica, we'll easily beat them on the second leg at home. It's going to be Bayern Munich's thinking, and they're going to have some confidence in facing Barcelona at home and Dynamo Kiev still. So I would hope maybe Bayern Munich puts more eggs in that Leverkusen match. And they come in saying, you know what, let's try to get the 3 points away at Benfica. They're going to be a confident side, but we get to rest some players. We go hard to net. We have this confidence in Barcelona, and hopefully we catch Bayern. I don't want to say flat-footed, but maybe get that result, because that is the one. I don't want to say the one opportunity, but if you look at Benfica versus a German side, any German club in the Bundesliga, getting a win away in Europe is a rarity. It almost in our history, I think, has happened once, maybe twice in the God knows how many times we faced the German teams. Let alone against a Bayern Munich, right? So getting a draw or a win would be massive, in my opinion, especially with Bayern Munich. A draw I'd be ecstatic with. The fact if we can get a point out of those 2 matches, and it sounds like I'm putting down Benfica, but I'm not. I just kind of look at the levels they're at. We get a draw. We beat Dynamo. It gets very hard for Barca to get out of the slump they're in, because I got a feeling Bayern's going to still want to send a message and beat Barca. There's a bit of a rivalry. It's the fact that Bayern Munich did not want anything to do with the Super League. Barcelona did want to be part of it. They're pushing hard for it. To punish Barca and send them to Europa, financially speaking, is a huge knock on Barca. They are in a bit of a crisis right now. They came out with the stats. I should have brought up the picture, but it showed how negative in the hole they were for the past season, and they're the worst club in Europe. I think 400, almost 500 million negative for the past year. They don't make it out of the group stage, out of the a Champions League, plus the
Yeah.
fact that they're in a crisis. Like Barcelona's in a true crisis, and if I'm Bayern Munich and I'm looking at a domestic European rival, and they probably put Barcelona more at their level than they put us, this is an opportunity for them to do some long-term lasting damage that will put Barca back into the normal size clubs again, get them off the top stature.
Yeah, so I mean, Barca also real quick on the spending front. I think they're limited to spend like as much as Watford, for example. Like that's they can only
Yeah.
spend that much. Either the league or UEFA or someone put a sanction on them, I believe. But even without and Barca doesn't need to spend to compete with the biggest teams in the world and win consistently. Yeah, they need to spend just like anyone else. But I mean, you saw that match. Pedri is a hell of a player. Ricky Puig.
Oh, their youth academy is amazing. Like they got some great kids coming up right now.
Yeah, and even like Miguel said, like about the shooting practice, I think just today was a game where, yeah, Chuck could have had a better finish there, but like Grimaldo could take 100 free kicks. He could take every free kick like that, and he's going to score, except for the one that Simwell saved today. Like,
Yeah,
there are just days where the other keeper, Benfica didn't lose this game as much as Portimonense won it, in my opinion, because they just like the keeper, the defense, they were just incredible. They capitalized off of one chance. Benfica had, at least the BTV commentator said that they had 10 goal scoring chances, like they say, the clear occasions to score. And at the end of the game, and obviously we didn't see a goal go in just for that. That's the third time this season that's happened. The other two times being against PSV in the Champions League in Kiev. It's the first time it's happened in the league in week 8. Not too bad. But I think one of the things for me that I really take away from this game is the fact that we have the international break coming up, as a few people had mentioned before. And my condolences to Ross over in Ireland for having to watch Ireland, because that's obviously a lot worse. At least in Portugal, you'll see him beat down on Qatar and what other club they're facing. But it's like, hey man, when we get back, we have to fans. That's a win. Or at the very least, that's just a quick game for everyone to get back in the swing of things.
yeah.
When you're looking, I don't have the stats for this point last season versus this season, but when you look at the lineup, Grimaldo, I mean, really going top down. Odi has played every game. Helton hasn't played one game yet in the regular season. You have Otamendi playing a crazy amount of minutes. Same with Verissimo, same with Grimaldo. Those three are your most minutes. Then you keep going down. Weigl and João Mario are pretty close behind. Rafa Silva's up there as well. Bertong and obviously Jan is going to be up there too. So all those guys have played over 800 minutes. All the ones that I mentioned today, almost 900 really. And so at this point in the season, those are a lot of minutes in their legs. Otamendi is really someone I'm worried about getting called for service to Argentina. And yeah, it's tough because right now we're all riding high off of all this Champions League success so far, which obviously means nothing except for our own the fan sentiment. Really, you haven't won anything, you haven't qualified for anything, but you're doing well. The league, you're in first place even with a loss. Porto and Sporting have yet to lose, and you're still in first place, which makes you feel good in that respect. The team's looking a lot better. Fans are getting behind JJ. Like everything's going right. But as we always say, it's easy when there are no injuries.
Yes, and I think the international break, as much as kind of you look at it as a break, the reality, you're spot on. Otamendi's going to play. Everton is going to play. Rafa and João Mario have been having a pretty good season. They're called up. I got a feeling Fran Sanchez is going to give them some minutes or rotate with them a little bit in some of the games, right? It's the fact that these guys are going to be getting on airplanes. They're going to travel international. They're going to be practicing. They're going to be working quite hard. I think that Trofins match couldn't have come at a better time. I think Leverkusen couldn't have come at a better time for us, for Bayern Munich, because they're going to have their own players play on national teams and traveling and, playing quite a bit of matches. So I just hope it works out for us. I do think we have a little bit of just rest these guys, keep them healthy so we can give it hard. And I really hope George Jesus, out of his stubbornness, does rotate a little bit more when needed. And I'm just going to go back to schedule. You rotate not only Trofins, go hard at Bayern Munich, but Vizela, you can rotate a little bit. They're newly promoted. Usually you got a promoted side that gives a little bit of heartache, but they're kind of sitting in that mid-table, lower mid-table. It'll be success for them to stay in the upper league, right? So you could technically do some rotation, especially after a Champions League match. Taça Liga, it's a group stage. You get several matches. Guimarães, I could see more bench players when you play there. You can kind of have a good bit of rest and rotation leading up to these bigger matches that are going to come later on. When you get to Bayern Munich, you get to Braga, you get to Barcelona, and then you get, you know what I mean? Like there are going to be tougher matches and tougher runs to come on. So it's just a hope that I hope he rotates and just take advantage of it. Take advantage of the fact that you got these gaps that you can use, right?
Yeah, that's really what it comes down. That's really what it comes down to for me. Thanks, Glenn, for pointing out that other game. But yeah, Luxembourg's an easy win. So, but that being said, even like the Seleção having games, the Portuguese national team having games against weaker opponents, Qatar, Luxembourg, and I think there might even be another game. One of those is a friendly, or maybe it's just the friendly in the qualifier. But weaker games, you're probably not going to see Jota, for the full 90 minutes. You're going to see Rafa on there for a little bit more time. You might see, instead of Paulinho or someone in the midfield, you may see João Mario get some more time. Instead of João Moutinho, for example. Like, injuries or something right now, like we talked about Sporting a lot last season. Oh, Sporting had it easy because they didn't have any European matches, but also they had a good coach and they had, good players coming up, and they had no injuries, so that was something else they had going for them. Obviously, I'm not going to take merit away from Sporting. They were the deserving champions. I always say that when I bring them up. But I just like to look on their season because the beginning of Sporting season last year, I mean, pretty much the whole season, really, when you look at it, it's pretty similar, though, with our beginning of the season in terms of, like, fan sentiment and just, like, the way they were playing. Like, they're playing some of the best soccer. They were getting the best results. Braga was playing really well last season, too. But you look at this Benfica team, and it's like, hey, listen, 13 matches without a loss. Great preseason, 13 matches without a loss. And when
great Europe. They've done great in Europe.
Yeah, great. This is kind of the turning point, or this could be the turning point, because you have that Bayern match on the 20th after Trofans, like the week match day 3 of the Champions League. Then you go to Bayern match day 4. The last thing you need is Barcelona, to turn it around, get 2 wins against Kiev.
Which they can, yeah.
Benfica's back in 3rd place, and it looks like we're in the Europa League again. Then you play another Barcelona game in the Champions League. Okay, Barca are coming off of 2 wins. They beat Benfica at home, kind of a revenge match. By that time, Koeman's probably gone. The players are playing better. Jordi Alba's back from injury. Who knows when Aguero's coming back? I'm not sure about that. But, like, it really can turn on a dime like that. So everything's going well right now. But you just really hope that we'll be able to keep it together for that stretch there. Because then you have a stretch after the Trofans match. Even then, in 2 weeks, starting with the Trofans match, you play Trofans na Taça, Bayern Munich 3 days later in the Champions League. 4 days later, so, all in 1 week, you play Vizela away for the Liga. Then you play on the 27th, so 10 days after the Trofans match. Your 4th match in 10 days, you play Vitória Guimarães in the Taça da Liga. And then, on the 30th there, you're playing, it might be the 31st. I'm not sure if they've switched the time.
They haven't confirmed that one yet. I think it's just a generic weekend date, the placeholder.
I think, because that's actually that Estoril game I'm planning on going to.
Nice.
So I'll be in the Continent for 1 week, and I'm planning on going to that game away. But that's 2 weeks right there, less than 2 weeks, and you have 5 matches.
Yeah,
we've already talked about international break, like resting. Just those 5 matches in and of itself are massive for the team's confidence, because in that time you can be out of the Taça de Portugal, pretty much out of the Taça da Liga, because the Taça da Liga you kind of need to win every game. After the start of the Guimarães chat. If you lose, I believe, the Guimarães, you're pretty much done. And then, in the Liga, right now you're in 1st place, but if you drop points against either Vizela or Estoril, you're kind of screwed. And then after the Estoril match is when you play Braga next.
This is the gauntlet right here. Gauntlet right here. After you're done Estoril, so really you got to get the results against Vizela, Estoril, stay top of the table. Even if you nick a tie against Vitória Guimarães, it's Taça Liga, we're not too concerned, but you want to stay in it. You want to get the result in Trofans. We can lose to Bayern Munich, but this right here, where if we lost to Bayern Munich at home and away, you could be forgiven. At the end of the day, they're a tough side, but you lose at home to Bayern Munich, and if you lose away to Bayern Munich, then you have Braga, which is not an easy test, followed up by Barcelona, like you said. Then also you got Sporting a couple weeks later. Like it could be that this critical point, get the points you need now, do the results you can, get the rest, hopefully nick a draw off Bayern Munich, at the very least, maybe get the win, which would be great. But just do what you got to do this upcoming month here, the month of October. It's such a critical month right now that we're in, because November is going to be far tougher. But if we can do what we need to do in October, get a little luck, get the results the right way, hopefully get the win against Sporting, we could end going into December top of the table, off to the knockouts of the Champions League, be riding high. Or, like you just said, we could be in a situation where all of a sudden we're not top of the table in Portugal, we're out of one of the cups, and we're off to Europa, and questions are being asked about the situation at the team, right? So it does change very quickly. It can quickly turn around on us. Do you want me to I'll shoot off to the Shadis the match moment. Is that okay?
Yeah, that works for Shadis, man of the match, and we can get into the play of the match as well. Let's do it.
Perfect. All right, so Joe, you want to go first? Want me to go first? What's your preference here for today?
How about you start things off?
All right, I'll kick it off. To me, play of the match was the Chuck opportunity that was last second saved by their goalkeeper. It was just a great play, great build up at that point in time. It was just one of these things where seeing that, an amazing save by them, but I had such a high level of confidence that, man, keep doing this, we're gonna win. Like, it's just the feeling I was getting at that moment. I was like, it's amazing save, pinpoint save by their keeper. So probably goes Samuel, but at the same time, it was just this feeling positivity I had at the moment, which got shattered by the time the final whistle happened. So that'd be kind of my play of the match. My Shadista match, and it's kind of tough. I toggled between Odysseus and Verissimo. I'm gonna give it to Verissimo just because, yes, he had that great header opportunity, almost scored in the 80th, but he did lose a lot of balls in the defensive zone. It was that really sloppy play between him and Odie for like about a good 2 to 3 minutes there, where they kept allowing the ball to go out, another throw in, another corner, another throw in, another corner, just kept allowing. Eventually we conceded. It was that lapse of concentration. So I'll give him the Charisse. Overall, yeah, he still had good moments in the game. Like, I think the team, it's one of these weird ones where I think they played well, but they just couldn't do it. And the player of the match, I know we always pick up Benfica. I have to go to Samuel. I'm going to give it to the Portimonense guy. Like, you don't see a goalkeeper stand on his head like that very often. It's horrific that it happened against us, but that is, he puts on a couple more showings like that in other games. He's getting signed by one of the big three like that. And it's unfortunate because he had Varela did it against Porto, I think it was. You get these guys against Benfica, Sporting, or Porto, they'll put on like the game of their life because the fact is we're pelting them with shots. So it takes a miracle to survive it. So I'm going to give it to him. That's going to be my take in terms of a player, especially. I know it's not one of ours, but I just got to toss it his way.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, to kind of start things off, I'll start with my Charisse of the match. I know he only played one half, but Gilbert, I thought in the first half, the whole Benfica team played great, with the exception of Gilbert. He wasn't really attacking the way he was against in the last. Just throughout the season, he's been great. Today was the first game where I looked at Gilbert and said,
"This is Gilberto we know."
if I'm gonna take off one guy at half, it's gonna be you. So today, I would say my Charisse of the match goes to Gilbert. But that being said, even then, I didn't think he was terrible. Just didn't think he was good, so that's why I'm giving it to him there. My man of the match, I'm not going to pick Samuel Portugal, even though he really deserves it. He obviously was the man of the match, and there's no second guessing that. But just for the sake of picking a Benfiquista, I thought Otamendi was great today. Yep. It seemed like, every time he had to stop a play in kind of in the build-up, he would break up the play. Something that's obviously really important too when you look at the fact that Otamendi is our center back. That's something that he needs to kind of set the tone and do. So him not picking up any yellows today also very big, because there was a second there where I thought he was going to pick up a yellow for arguing. a call for a penalty on Gonçalo in stoppage time, which wasn't. It was a great cut from Portland's D. But that being said, I give it to Otamendi today. And then my play of the match, which really boils down to to your man of the match, Mario, was in the 41st minute. And there was an incredible play in the midfield and the build-up between Chuck and Rafa. Chuck kind of lays it off to Rafa. Rafa dribbles past a couple of Portimonense defenders, gets to the box. Portimonense defender, for a second, I thought was actually going to take him down for the penalty.
Yeah.
He keeps his legs back just long enough. Rafa goes to chip it, just, one of those little toe poke goals right past Samuel Portugal. And he has just the slightest left-hand save on him. And that was a goal easily in the 41st minute. And at that point, looking back at it, Samuel had made the save against Chuck. He had made the save against Grimaldo in the free kick. And then that was the third big chance that really sealed it in the first half. And then even then in the first half, he had that header save against Grimaldo right after.
Yeah.
This guy just stood on his head. I'm going to give my all the respect he deserves, because that guy was just unreal today. Unreal.
That moment, I had a mental note that I kind of, how you watch a game and you're like, okay, I'm going to talk with this later on. I'm going to shelve that event. It's going in the memory box. And due to my old age, I forget things. But as soon as you brought up that Rafa, I was like, it just flashed right back. That play.
Unreal.
It was a great play. Amazing play. Beautiful play. The guy was fouling Rafa like no tomorrow, outside the box, grabbing him, pulling. I thought when the goalies, I know sometimes either play on, or you can let them play on and call the foul. But when he clearly lost the ball and wasn't, the keeper was going to get it, I thought the referee should have called that back, because it was such a blatant foul leading in, not a penalty because it wasn't in the box. I thought that was going to happen. But the most annoying part is they had broken away. All Rafa had to do is just slot it sideways. He had a guy grabbing him left, right, doing the, butterfly picks on his rear end, all the funny business going on. He's kind of stumbling a bit because the guy's like kind of tripping him up. And the goalie closed the space. And I understand why he shot it. I get it. One-on-one like that, you're going to shoot it. You're a professional. If he had just slotted it to the left, I think that's where, I think it was Chuck that was there, or Darwin. I
think it was Darwin, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, but there was a guy there, and at the end of the day, I was like, that would have sealed the deal. And it was I think there was a certain level of going back to the riding high in confidence. I think Rafa had a certain level of higher confidence. Same with Darwin, and same with these guys after Barcelona, that they had such a great game that they're like, I'm gonna be the hero today. I'm gonna seal it today. And I think that is the mental game that kind of played out a little bit. That they did play well. They got the opportunities. They got the chances. Amazing game by Samuel, but just little things like that. Like if they had just pulled off that side pass, different story.
Yeah, it
shoulda, woulda, coulda. Kind of thing, right?
The thing is, one of the things for me with Rafa, it's like so difficult at times to be mad at him, because you look at it and it's like, listen, if it wasn't for him, there's like a couple of parts to a play, right? It's creating the play and then finishing the play, or even like, we would always get on Seth for missing chances. And Timo Werner is obviously a big one that everyone gets on for missing chances. But at the end of the day, you think, well, at least he gets in the position to miss those goals.
Yeah, he's creating the chances.
He creates the chance for himself by being in the right place. He just can't finish.
Yeah.
So it's like, would you rather have a guy that can't finish, can't create chances, so he's not criticized that much? He doesn't do that much, blah, blah, blah. What's up, Andrew? Great to have you back, obviously, on the live stream. But for me, it's like, Rafa, he's like the most, he's the most disruptive player we have by far. He's the guy. I mean, Grimaldo too is a close second when he's on his day. Like today in the first half, he was really, disrupting the match. Rafa's a guy that when he gets the ball, the play's either going to end in a missed chance for him or a foul almost every single time in our favor. Like it's very rarely going to end with him, dribbling and missing the ball, or like, dribbling out of bounds or making a bad like pass before that chance is created. When he makes those bad decisions, it's almost always right in the moment where you're like, all right, we're going to score. Or, oh, this could be a goal scoring opportunity. And yeah, I think that it's something for me that, as frustrating as it is, you see him against Barcelona and all the opportunities he created, and just seeing him in this new format. I see we got a little bit of JJ hate coming in the chat there in the last comment, but really JJ was the person who decided to put Rafa in this position. like with Darwin and Chuck, and it's clearly paying off. Rafa was already playing well before when he was on the wing, but like this new position where he's kind of playing with them, with João Mati defensively, but kind of more up behind the strikers offensively, it's really been paying off. So we had one bad match. If any of those goals goes in, nobody's going to say a thing about how JJ managed the game. Even if
it would have been, we got the win against Barcelona. The Chuck goal goes in. One of these goals goes in. We would have been riding high. Porto-Munich then would have had to open up because they weren't. Their time wasting. The time wasting would have stopped at that point, because when you're losing, you're not going to time waste anymore. You're going to try to play the game. You open up, and the way we were playing would have crucified them. But it's one of those things where it would have been a win with 20 some odd shots, majority possession. Everyone had been celebrating right into the international break. I think it's bad luck. I'm not going to sell it to coach at this point. I think there's still lots of games to be played. Now, if he goes on a horrific streak and we look terrible by the end of the year, then yeah, you could crucify him. I think we will also, but he's got to take advantage of that rotation. I think that's the next big stage, and we'll see what he does. If he goes in with his best 11 against Trofis, I'm going to be livid, because you're gambling with the European game at that point, in my opinion, right? So
yeah, like I think today's a game where you're looking, just coming into it. Obviously, hindsight's 2020. JJ didn't put the guy that scored a hat trick on, but he put on guys that could. So it's half of it. Like with Andrew saying, I think that late sub was really the biggest thing that JJ did that irks me. And just real quick, seeing Taarabt back in a Liga game after his suspension was something that happened sooner than I thought it would. To be honest, it seemed like that suspension was never going to end. But he didn't really bring too much. He had like a couple of bad passes in the build-up. To me, today, you can't blame JJ, because when the game started, he gave us a chance. Throughout the match, he didn't, switch it all up right at the beginning, take out Rafa and take out all these guys. He gave him 75 minutes to beat Porto-Munich, or to score against Porto-Munich. They couldn't do it. He made changes. Were some of those changes the best in hindsight? No. But really, to me, is the fact that he didn't lose this game for us. This was just.
I think it's terrible to say, but it's bad luck. It's bad luck. Yeah. It is what it is. But yeah, we'll call it. I know you got to head out in a short bit, so a massive shout to everyone. All the big thank yous for obviously checking us out, all the likes and all the subscribers. I know it's really bounced up quite a bit lately, so much appreciated. Svilar, good shout. Actually, that's an interesting one.
That is Raining Entertainment. I mean, me and Raining have been pretty in sync today for this show. Pretty much everything he said I've agreed with. But yeah, today's just an interesting match. Whatever, you kind of have to forget it. I think it was Ross before I brought up, hey, we're gonna dwell on this now for 2 weeks because it was our last match.
Yeah,
we really shouldn't, because like they played well. It wasn't like a game, like I said again, I can't say it enough, and this is kind of my closing point here. Listen, Benfica today showed up to play. Clearly in the first half, they showed up to win. The result didn't go their way. That's like, you always hear that BS when a team loses. Hey, we gave our best, but just couldn't.
A couple of years back, the last couple of years, we had these losses where it was, we lost 1-0 and it was 50-50 possession, and we had one shot or two shots or three, like we barely shot. It was infuriating.
Like Farense last year, when you lose 0-0 to them. They hadn't had a clean sheet for a full calendar year, and you go 0-0 because you couldn't get shots on net.
Yeah, so this is a case where, like, when they're shooting, it's, if you replay this exact same event with those types of shots, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity this goalkeeper had. He did it, and give him his props, and he's going to be a hero for now. And Porto will build a statue for him if somehow they pull it off. But
the Sporting Twitter will.
The Sporting Twitter will. They'll all. But I still think there's lots of games to go. Porto and Sporting got lucky on their matches. It was a grind of a match for them to play for their games. Long season up ahead. I think we got the depth. We got the talent. I'm feeling extremely confident at this point in time still. And I we're going to go into the break, and the way I'm going to go with it is we smash Barcelona 3-0, top of the table, looking good. We got an easier draw for the Taça Portugal. Things are looking up and up. So positive, because I think we're in the right direction.
Yeah, and I mean, just thinking real quickly just about so far, you just brought up like kind of the results there in general. Thinking so far about the season, like Benfica has looked pretty strong. Like obviously one of the reasons where everyone's happy with how Benfica are playing right now is the fact that we're winning. Above all,
that's key.
We can play absolutely terribly, but if we win, people are happy. But it really comes down to the fact that we're playing well as winning for most of our matches. When you look at the other big teams so far, like Braga just when they were down 1-0 a little while ago against Boavista. Porto and Sporting kind of struggled in their wins this weekend. They were both tied 1-1 at one point. And so, it's like where you have to look at Benfica with a grain of salt. You have to look at this match with a grain of salt and say, over the course of the season, Benfica have been playing very well, much better than last year. I personally am going to chalk a lot of that up to JJ. Obviously, the rest of it comes from the fact that these guys have had more time playing together. They had better breaks. There are a lot of things that, really have to go right for a team to be successful. But you have one thing that can make the team be unsuccessful really quickly, and that's the manager. Can't say anything about JJ this year for me so far.
Yeah, it's how he handles it.
Let's talk after November when we're pretty much, the Champions League is almost done, or, let's talk in the summer when the Champions League is done. I think it'd actually be really fun, Mario, now that we're saying this on here we got a decent amount of people on, doing like a mid-season show and kind of just reflecting on what's been going on so far. But so far this season, to me, Benfica haven't done anything to me that I can, say shame on you guys for. Raining, that's where I'm going to say go Sox. I'm not a Blue Jays. But yeah, that's kind of my take.
You gotta love those BJs. They're winning 9-1 right now is what they're up right now. So it's a weird kind of setup. Not that this is a baseball show, but it's the fact that between the Sox, the Yankees, and the Jays, it's insanely tight. And let's just see. I'm not wishing ill on the Yankees or the Sox. It's the case where the Jays have actually the weakest team in their division for their final kind of run of matches is what they've had, and they got their wins, but so did the other ones. I think though at the end of the day, are they done though? I think everyone's then played.
Well,
the Sox still play.
Yeah, well, no, the Sox are playing right now. They're down 2-1.
They're losing. Okay, they're
losing.
The
last game of the season though, so in like
it's
2
done, right?
hours, you'll have the results for everything.
Yeah, the Rays, Yankees are facing Rays. So I think if the Yankees lose and the Jays win, is that enough? I don't know if it's enough though.
There's like a ton of. I'm pretty sure the way it works is like
there's a weird setup right now with those three teams.
Yeah, if everyone wins, then it's like the Mariners somehow get involved. I don't really know.
There's the baseball's an odd sport to figure out how these things.
It's just crazy to me how you could play 162 games and still need a tiebreaker.
Which is funny.
Yeah, I mean,
they might have to play an extra game. I've heard about this. Yeah.
Real quick, I did notice. Sorry, you just also brought up too. For Andrew, feel free to pop your man of the match, your play of the game really, and then your shooties of the match in the chat. We'd love to see it. But for me, just to summarize, my play of the match was the Rafa Silva run up that was just saved by Samuel. Also, the play a lot of people said he should have slotted over to Darwin. I would agree. My man of the match was Otamendi. I thought he was great, and then my shooties of the match was Gilbert. Partly because in the first half, when he was playing, I didn't think he did anything special. Partly because it's been a while since I've given him shooties of the match, so it's nice to Matata kill like they say.
Got it back up there.
Yeah.
Get the Sudaj back.
Yeah.
I did it. Mine was Verissimo as a shooties, just because of the play that kind of led up to the goal. I see the comment here where it was a terrible celebration on their part. I saw him razzing up the fan base. Play of the match was that shot from Chuck that was saved. It was a cool play. I give the player to Samuel because it was insane. But I'd kind of echo Joe and the Otamendi in the sense that even like when he got the shot clearance on the line, you see him punching the ground. The amount of like the fight that he has, the general nickname that he has, like he has such a fight for it, which is good, man. It's frustrating game, but yeah,
it's just crazy. It's just crazy to see what Otamendi is like now compared to what he was like last season. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. Towards the end of last season, he was still, the general and everything. But seeing the guy wear the armband as many times as he had and everything is just something I never would have pictured when he signed for Benfica. So,
oh no, he's fighting. He's a true professional, and he's putting his heart and soul into it. So you gotta love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see if during the international break, we'll see if we do any specials. Sometimes we'll try to find some. We'll see if we get something it depends on timing, but if we get one, it'll be good. We got Canadian Thanksgiving coming up. So we always do it a little earlier than the Americans. We do it in October. So when I look at the Portuguese national team, we got Monday off as a holiday, not this Monday, but the following Monday. So I look at we play on Saturday, we play on Tuesday. I get the Saturday Qatar match. So I don't know. Maybe we'll do an international one or something. We'll figure it out. But yeah, you guys have been great. Again, thanks for all the likes, subscriptions, all the craziness of it. It's kind of wild when I look at the channel and how it's been growing and how just a few years ago we started doing this and how it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And it's just fun talking to everyone about the game, right? It's frustrating when we don't get the result, but at the same time, it's nice having this ability to kind of vent out and talk it out with everyone.
Yeah, I'm pumped for next match. It's going to be hard waiting so long for Benfica to play again, but 2 weeks, counting down the days.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, have a good one. Peace.
See you guys.